Hey guys, welcome back to the garage with the 2016 Honda CBR1000RR. The bike, as you guys can see, it's almost done. And you might be wondering, why is the rickety front fairing on the bike? Or even worse, why that thing is being jerry-rigged onto the bike? Well, I added the old exhaust and the old fairing on the headlight, so I could actually plug in all the electronic stuff and make sure that everything works properly. So stay tuned at the end of the video. We're gonna try to start the bike. But enough with the chit chat, let's get on it. As you guys can see now, there is actually a triple clamp over here, and I had a powder coated to get all the scratches that the key and the keychain usually do on a motorcycle of this kind. Torqued the steering nut over here properly and zeroed out the suspensions, because as always I want the next owner of the bike to be able to have a blank canvas to start working and setting the suspension properly for his weight. Obviously, I reattached the electric steering damper, very simple job, and spruce up here. So new grips. This time around I went with the Domino grips, and I used the Pro Grip grips glue, I think it's called, which made the installation way easier. And at the same time, obviously, new butt end weights, new levers up front. There has been a lot of work and a lot of cleaning done to spruce up this portion of the bike, which is the part of the bike that the rider is actually in contact with. Another item that I put on the bike, it's pretty obvious, is the fuel tank. And then you also have the seat. The only thing I had to do to the seat was clean it and get the gooch juice off of it. It's a black seat, it didn't look like it, but it was super dirty. When it comes to the fuel tank installation was easy enough. The hardest part is because everything is cramped up under there, I had to stick my fingers in there and plug in those electrical plugs. And the thing I had the hardest time doing is the vents. Actually, the vent single, because one is a vent, the other one is a drain. The drain plug or the drain hose is simple enough. It's the bigger one. It goes in very easy. The vent plug, I had a hard time. I really had a hard time doing it. One surprising thing for the fuel tank, were plugging back in the fuel line, and this is where my pro tip comes in. On the Honda, on this vintage, the fuel line have a quick connect. When you disconnect it, you pinch the green clip and you remove the black fuel line. When you put it back on, the green clip goes onto the fuel line first, and then it's just as easy as pushing it in, and it goes in like clip. Easy, super easy. So thank you Honda for it, because I've done the same thing to the Ducati Scrambler before and it was a nightmare. But we all know how Ducati stands on maintenance on their own bikes. But anyway, so gas tank is back on. There is very little gas in it, hopefully just enough to see if the bike starts. Let's move on to the heart of the motorcycle, the engine down here. What I've done on this side is new oil filter, fresh oil in there, and replace the clutch cover with a genuine Honda OEM clutch cover. Because the previous one was all scratched up, so this one had to go, as well as the inspection port over here has been replaced. It was very simple. It's the same thing I've done to tens, if not hundreds of bikes. The only thing I can add to your day is when you're removing the oil drain plug down here, undo it almost to the end, then grab a magnet, one of those not fishing magnet, I call it fishing magnet, but it's not. One of those telescopic magnet, put it there, unscrew the final portion of it so your hands are gonna stay clean. Mostly the nut is actually gonna stay cleaner than it would if you just hand do it. And that's about it. When it comes to the clutch cover, Honda does not use a gasket for it, but you need to use black RTV. I've done that as best as I can. So far, it seems like it's not leaking at all, but we'll see when we start running the engine, and when the engine warms up, that's when, if there is a leak, it's gonna sprung. But so far, so good. Finger crossed, we'll see by then. Obviously, put enough oil to be between min and max for now, because I need to top off all the fluids once the bike comes off the stand. Just like with the chain slack, the bike needs to be off, it needs to be on the ground, needs to be flat. Right now it's at least 6 inches raised in the back. It's not level, it's not going to be accurate or precise. Man, this Honda matte black in the back absorbs light. I'm trying to set up the camera so that you see my face lighted up and this stuff back here, but I just can't do it. It's like a black hole. It just kept sucking in all the light and looking dark, but which is kind of cool, to tell you the truth. But why am I back here is to talk about the rear brake system, which is being overhauled. The caliper is being rebuilt. Very simple on this Nissin type of caliper, because to rebuild it is just a matter of replacing the seals on the brake pistons. So very easy, single piston in the back, obviously new brake pads, clean hardware, and everything is being lubed properly and reinstalled. No leak, but the piece of resistance for this rear brake system is this Golfer steel braided brake line. So much better. The steel braided brake lines are they're priceless. And for this motorcycle, they're so cheap. Oh my God, I don't understand why not everybody does it to this bike. The rubber hoses that come with the bike, they lack. They expand when the fluid gets hot. It's even worse. But those steel braided, fantastic. So added new steel braided lines, clean and rebuild the master cylinder up front, fresh fluid in it, and obviously, if you didn't notice before, this is being replaced with a serviceable one. It's used, I bought it on eBay, but it's not like the previous one where this portion was broken and this thing was all scraped up. Your eyes might have caught a sight of this monstrosity over here. This is what's left of the OEM exhaust. As I said at the beginning of the video, put it back in so we can start the bike. But I have a newer OEM exhaust coming in. I went the OEM route, so I know that the exhaust works, the oxygen sensor goes back in, the back pressure is what it's supposed to be, and sincerely, it's a lot of less thing to worry about in my head. So there you have it. How can you talk about the rear brake without talking about the front brakes as well? Obviously, they get the same treatment. Brand new seals in here, so clean and rebuild as much as possible for this Tokiko kind of brake. Brand new steel braided brake lines. The Golfer brake lines are independent, so left and right line go straight up here to the master cylinder. When it comes to the master cylinder, it's being clean, bled properly, so it's in outstanding shape. and obviously fresh fluid throughout the system. It's not as important to center the caliper, those are radial mounted calipers, on a street going bike because the tolerances on this, it's a fraction of a millimeter. All those that scream bloody revolution because every time you change the brake pads you don't center the calipers, know nothing of what you're talking about. It will make no difference. Your brake pads will wear uneven by a fraction of a millimeter. And if you take this bike to the track and it's your track bike, you might want to improve the braking by replacing the calipers with a Brembo or something aftermarket. So I know how this is going to go in the comments, so let's leave it at that. But the front wheel is back on the bike with obviously a 90 degrees valve stem and Pirelli Diablo Rosso Corsa 2, the proper tire for this motorcycle. The last thing I did up to this point is the air ducts back over here. Right now they're just in because the air ducts and the front headlight, they kind of need the fairing to be installed properly. So I put them in, I put it in there as best as I can just to start the bike up, but that's about it. When it comes to the headlight is not OEM. Can't remember where I bought it, Amazon, eBay, or that's it. But it matches exactly the OEM headlight, so all the plugs are where they're supposed to be. It looks exactly the same. I can't really tell. The only reason is the usual Honda branding missing from it compared to spending, I don't know, north of $500 for an OEM headlight or some crazy amount. Obviously, I had to put the old fairing up front so I can put the mirrors. Those are the old mirrors. I have new ones in there because they're scratched. And this just cannot happen. Scratched. The bike is gonna be pristine with scratches on the mirror, not in here. So, but for now, to test, to see if the turn signals actually blink properly, those will do just fine. But let's wrap this up with a final conclusion and starting the bike. So I'll get it ready and I'll catch you up in a minute. Look, it's cold and rainy out there, so let me say a few more things before I open the garage door. Working on this vintage of a Honda, it's a pure joy. Everything goes where it's supposed to be. I can't remember if I swear that much throughout the rebuild process. Maybe I did on a few parts, but I'm gonna cut those parts. So, but well, thank you very much to everybody. Thank you very much to my patrons. You guys are the best for everything I used on this build so far. Check the description down below. Well, let's start it up. So, keys in. Oh yeah, I gotta peel back the masking tape so I can actually see if there are any codes or faults in there. This will do. It primes. Low fuel light is on. Oil pressure light is on. Neutral light is on. Just start it up. Should I brave the elements? Yeah, let me brave the elements. Yeah, that's the most I'm gonna brave them. And off we go. It sounds pretty good. I really can't complain. It primed the way it's supposed to. It started. Little rough at the beginning, but it's normal. And then it smoothed out fairly nice and nice. Nothing. I'm not used to motorcycle actually starting out this easy. So what can I say? Nothing. Dai tutti, and I'll see you next time.